Hello and welcome back to the channel, everybody. In this video I'm going to talk about these Camus LC100 load cell pedals. Are they any good? Let's check them out.
First up, in the box you get 3 individual pedals, a control box, a big steel plate to mount them on, and of course some mounting hardware. I personally like a larger gap between the accelerator and the brake than what is cut out in this mounting plate, so I drilled some extra holes to mount the brake pedal closer to the clutch.
Now let's talk about how I have these set up compared to how you get it in the box. I've set this on the middle hole here. I've set the clutch on the middle hole. I've taken one of the spacers out of the throttle and put one of them into the clutch so that it gives the clutch a little less throw and the throttle a bit more throw. That's just how I prefer it. In terms of the brake pedal, I haven't moved these. I don't think you can really move them too much. One of the things you will want to move though is screwing this out, because when I got it, this actually hit the end of the damper here and kind of made a stop. This needs to come down a little bit and then screw that back on here. I've got this in the last position here. I've got the preloads screwed all the way down in there, as hard as I can do it actually, to try and give as stiff pedal as possible. I did find, because I do like to stomp on the brake pedal quite hard, one of the spacers in here annihilated itself.
As for the damper, I have this set on position number 2. Another setup mod I'd recommend is unbolting the load cell and changing the 2 washers underneath the load cell to 4 washers underneath the load cell to raise it up higher. I personally found that 2 washers were limiting the load cell's ability when pressed down hard, and in my opinion, by increasing the load cell's depth, it also increases the brake control, especially in games like iRacing. I think this mod is a must. Don't forget, after raising the load cell with the washers, to unwind the ball adjustment at the top of the load cell so the steel feet are either level with the bottom of the load cell or slightly further down, to protect the load cell from hitting the bottom under heavy braking. Now, one thing I used to do with my previous pedal set was add some dry PTFE to all the moving parts to stop any squeaking and stop any binding, and I have carried that over to these pedals as well. Now, while I wasn't getting any binding on these pedals anyway, initially when I first took them out of the box, they were completely dead silent. I did start to get a small amount of noise, but after putting the dry PTFE on, that all disappeared. But I won't tell you about how quiet they are. I'll just shut up and let you listen how quiet they are. As for any play in the pedals, the accelerator has a small amount of play. The brake has a very small amount of play side to side, but the clutch is actually really good and doesn't have any play at all.
For the pedals in the software, there's not much you can do in parameters for the pedals, but over here in devices you can set your min maxes. Just let them sit there, press min, and then obviously press it to the maximum, set max. There you are. It's pretty simple stuff, and I find some of the aftermarket pedals, because they use the Leo Bodnar thing, when you go into games like F1, it can be a bit funny with the pedals, but I really like how they've implemented this in the software. I haven't had an issue at all with these pedals in any game that I've tried. The bitrate seems reasonable. In saying that, I haven't actually hooked these up to the wheelbase itself. I've always just hooked them up via USB. I don't know if the bitrate is different between USB and putting it into the wheelbase. USB is normally better bitrate, and you can also update them and all that by this. Now I want to talk about the brake pedal for a second and the mod that I did. Before I did the washer mod with the load cell, when I pressed about this much strength, that would be about the maximum. It would actually show maximum around about here with that much force. Then even just pressing really, really, really hard, like double the amount of hardness, it went up from here to like here. Just a very little bit. Whereas now, after doing the washer mod and putting the load cell a little bit higher, I now have about this much more play. And then if I press really hard, again, it increases a little bit, but not a lot. And it feels like that's the load cell kind of topping out, maybe. I don't know. This caps out at about probably just over 80% there. And I've purposely done that, especially for iRacing. So if you're wondering why that doesn't go to max, that's why. I've purposely set it up that way. But for ACC, where I have it pretty much max there, in the software in ACC, I then pull the top down a little bit so that that's my max, so that when I do hit that, that's actually 100% brake in the game. Coming from a more expensive pedal set that has a very stiff brake pedal that barely moves a centimeter even under full brake pressure, and now going to pedals that are softer with a bit more travel in the brake pedal, I thought it was going to take me a little while to get up to speed with these, but it didn't take me long to get back into setting PBs again, and it didn't feel like in this game and others like AMS2 that I was losing any time with these pedals. Once set up correctly, I found these pedals in these games to do the job perfectly, which is great, especially at the price of $239 USD, and even cheaper if you use the code STORM at checkout. And I think these should last a long time with its steel construction and Hall effect sensors in the throttle and the clutch. But the best test for pedals, in my opinion, is iRacing, where it's very easy to lock up into the braking zone if you can't feel how much pedal pressure you're putting in as much. And after a little while of getting used to it, it's safe to say I got the hang of it, and I was back up to speed in iRacing once again. The small things I would like to see improved is more spaces in the box from factory, because if you want to change the throw of the pedals to be shorter, or if any brake like mine did, then you have to either find your own or take them out of a different pedal, increasing its throw. Also, I feel like the plastic spaces may be fine for the accelerator and clutch, but they may not be strong enough for heavy brakers like myself for the brake pedal. But look, these are the cheapest load cell pedals I have ever used, and they are far from the worst pedals I have ever used. Are they as good as a $1,000 pedal set? No. But are they great at $239 USD? Definitely. If you're looking to step up to load cell pedals and don't want to spend a fortune on pedals, I would say that these are very high up on my recommendation list. They're very, very good for the money. Anyway, thanks for watching this video, everybody. Hit that like button if you liked it, subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you in the next video.